and protecting our environment and quality of life go hand in hand. It's my great honor to be a part of Senator Tester's announcement to introduce the Montana Headwaters Legacy Act, new legislation to protect 17 iconic streams in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem and the Smith River system as national wild and scenic rivers. We've got 4 speakers today, and I'd like to introduce the first speaker. All these people have worked together to introduce and support this pivotal legislation. Jason Fleury, who I announced earlier, is our gracious host and co-owner of Trout Chasers Lodge and Outfitters. He's also the president of Fishing Outfitters Association of Montana, which represents nearly 900 fishing outfitters and guides throughout the whole state of Montana. Jason has guided and outfitted for over 20 years in Montana and appreciates every opportunity to connect more people to our amazing rivers. Please welcome Jason Fleury.
Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you, Senator Tester, for the announcement for the Headwaters Legacy Act. On behalf of Fishing Outfitters Association of Montana, as an outfitter myself, clean, cold water in all of our waters in Montana is paramount for continued generations to be able to recreate and ag and the industry that it supports. We can't thank you enough for that and for that designation. It is something we look forward to seeing more of on additional rivers in Montana as we go forward. So thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. I appreciate it.
Our next speaker is Scott Bossy. Scott Bossy is the Northern Rockies Director for American Rivers. He's also the co-founder of Montanans for Healthy Rivers, which is a group of over 1,000 businesses and over 3,000 Montanans that have come forward to endorse the Montana Headwaters Legacy Act. Scott's worked on successful wild and scenic rivers legislation on Montana's East Rosebud Creek, as well as in the Snake Headwaters down in Wyoming. Please welcome Scott Bossy.
Thank you, Charles. Everyone hear me okay? Jason, thank you again for hosting. I really appreciate it. And Senator Tester, thank you for making this event possible. So we've known each other for a long time, and with one notable exception, when you were a state senator, you've always been an awesome champion for our rivers and public lands. I won't mention that one notable exception. Thanks to Senator Tester, we had federal legislation passed to protect the Upper Yellowstone River very recently, the North Fork of the Flathead River, and most recently East Rosebud Creek in 2018, Montana's first new wild and scenic river in 42 years. And while other elected officials have joined in co-sponsoring that legislation, I will tell you that none of those bills would have gotten off the ground were it not for Senator Tester and his staff. So let's give thanks to Senator Tester. So I was asked to talk about some of the public outreach across Montana that has brought us to this point 10 years since we started that outreach. And I'd be remiss if I didn't first mention the fact that the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act was born in Montana. The idea for the act was born in Montana, and we have honored that legacy by crafting a Made in Montana bill. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Over the last 10 years, those of us that are involved with Montanans for Healthy Rivers have had over 300, probably close to 400 meetings across the state. Business roundtables, public forums, neighborhood meetings, meetings with businesses, tribes, and others. Thanks to all those meetings, we have over 3,000 Montanans who have officially endorsed the proposed Montana Headwaters Legacy Act. Over 1,200 Montana businesses have endorsed the act. The Rocky Mountain Tribal Leaders Council, which represents all the tribes in Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming, has endorsed this legislation. And not surprisingly, because of all that support, when the University of Montana conducted a public lands poll last fall, they found that 79% of Montanans support the Montana Headwaters Legacy Act. So it's really not that heavy of a lift. So I know numbers mean something, and it's good to hear about our outreach efforts, but I think stories convey the power of why we're here more so. So this summer, I spend a lot of time on our rivers. Eric gives me a lot of grief for spending too much time on our rivers. But one thing I noticed this year is I saw more Montanans on our rivers than ever before. And it really reminded me, I talked to people about, what brought them to the river that day, why they're here, and everyone said, this coronavirus pandemic has been brutal on all of us. And this is the place where we come for refuge. And it reminded me, American Rivers and a lot of other groups that are represented here, we work with groups that bring veterans out to our rivers to heal their bodies when they come back from war. I floated the Smith River 8 times. I floated it for the 8th time this summer. And almost every time I'm at Camp Baker, I'm watching people load their rafts. And almost every time I'm there, I see people bring urns onto their rafts. And I strike up conversations with a lot of folks because I'm a talkative guy. And people invariably tell me that they promised their father or their grandfather or their mother or their sister that when they passed away, they would take them on one last trip on their favorite river. So in times of trouble, like we're experiencing right now, we really understand the power of rivers and the need to protect them. Because more and more people are moving to Montana, but the supply of healthy, intact rivers is diminishing. And that's why it's so important that we proactively protect these rivers today. And that's why it's so important that we give this gift to future generations. So thank you, Senator Tester, and for all of you who have made this day possible.
Our next speaker is Jennifer Drinkwalter. Jennifer is the Vice President of Beartooth Recreational Trails Association, which is the largest recreational organization in the Greater Red Lodge area. Jennifer, for 7 years, served as the director of a week-long cycling event that tours all kinds of river corridors throughout the Greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Jennifer is a mother, an icon of her community, and also an avid paddler of the Stillwater River. Please welcome Jennifer Drinkwalter.
Thanks, Charles, and thank you all for having me here. It's a beautiful place. I've never been here before, so thank you, Jason. And yes, Red Lodge is it's a unique place. It's our way of life, protecting the outdoors and recreation. With the Beartooth Pass right behind us in our backyard, we see a lot of recreationists in the summertime, as you can imagine. And so making sure that we have clean water and trails and good outdoor recreation is really important to us. And alongside that, we have agriculture in our area. And so we have two really important pieces in the Red Lodge area. And like I said, I'm from Red Lodge, and so right in my backyard, I live right by the high school, and the high school is right along Rock Creek. And so at night, if I open up my window wide, I can hear the water, and it puts me to sleep. And yesterday, right out my window while I was working on a few things actually for BRTA, Beartooth Recreational Trails Association, we're working on our Nordic Center brochure, and I got to watch 2 moose, a mom and her calf, just hang out and listen to the water, and it inspired me to get out in the wind and the deep snow and walk my dogs down to the river. And it really just made me appreciate everything and took me back to the summer where COVID was rampant, and we spent a lot of time on the Stillwater and on the Yellowstone and on Rock Creek. So those 3 rivers are very important to me. I grew up close to the Yellowstone and now live right next to Rock Creek. So this is important to me, our work with BRTA and helping open doors with different organizations in the Red Lodge community and Absaroka in those areas so that we can get more support for rivers. I think it brings people together. A lot of different backgrounds. Like Scott was mentioning, there's a high support for rivers. So thank you for having me here today, and thank you, Senator Tester.
All right, our last speaker is Senator Jon Tester himself. Senator Tester is our 3-term senior U.S. Senator hailing from Big Sandy. He's the only active farmer in the U.S. Senate, and in his tenure, he's always been a loyal supporter of public land and river conservation for Montana's outdoor recreation economy, our environment, and our way of life. We're deeply indebted to Senator Tester for his vision and leadership to introduce and work to pass the Montana Headwaters Legacy Act. Free-flowing rivers and water quality will be ensured for many generations to come. Thank you, Senator Tester, for being here.
Well, thank you. It is absolutely a great day in the last best place, I'll tell you that. I've got a speech here, and I'm going to hit a little of it because there's some folks to thank. The Greater Yellowstone Coalition, American Rivers, American Whitewaters, other conservation advocates who make up Montanans for Healthy Rivers, industry leaders like Savani Stillwater for showing everybody that resource extraction and conservation are not mutually exclusive. Jason, where'd you go, Jason? And the Montana Trout Chasers for hosting us here today. I just want to say thanks to everybody. I'm kind of the conduit to make this happen. Okay, you guys do all the hard work. I'm gonna take all the credit for it. Okay. and the bottom line is if you can hear the water running behind us, that's kind of what it's about. And making sure that we've got a place to drop a worm in the water or go floating on a hot day when it's a little hotter than this out is really important. And making sure that we got clean air and clean water to feed these streams is important. I think Scott said, there's more folks moving to the state all the time, and there is. This place has been discovered. It's going to continue to have more and more people here. There's going to be more and more pressure put on air and water every day. And now we're really past the time to do something about it. But we've got a great coalition of people together, and I think we can get this across the finish line. And the reason we can get it across the finish line is because of on-the-ground support in this state and throughout this country. I think people understand, as our Native American friends have always said, is water is life, and that is absolutely unequivocally true. And so if we don't do things about it today, smart things, not crazy things, just smart things, to help protect these resources moving forward, they won't be here. They won't be here for our kids. They won't be here for our grandkids. And I'll tell you that history repeats itself, okay? But we've seen it happen before. And so it's really important that we get this piece of legislation across the finish line. I will tell you, if it polls at 79% in this state, that's really, really, really a good thing. Where are you at, Kascie? That's really, really, really a good thing. But you and I both probably know it's going to be a little tougher than that. But the bottom line is, if everybody gets out there and work, everybody puts their shoulder to the wheel, we can make this happen. It's probably going to have some times when it becomes difficult, but the truth is that if we all stay focused on what we want to accomplish here, we can get it done. And it's not crazy stuff. I mean, look. I mean, who the hell wouldn't want to see that so our kids and our grandkids and their kids can see that and be able to utilize it and enjoy it? That's what makes Montana the last best place. I'm going to close with only one thing, and it's a bit of regret, quite frankly, because Scott Kascie and I have drank a lot of beer talking about that. And if we get this passed, I'm not going to be able to drink any more beer with Scott Kascie. So,
That's not true.
No, truth is thank you all for the work that you've all done in your own individual areas and your own individual groups. You need to just keep pushing. This is the first step of many to take. Hopefully we're going to work like hell, get this across the finish line in the Senate, get a hearing on it, get it to the floor, get it to the House, get it out. One last thing. How many people here have voted? Okay, if you didn't raise your hand, before 5 o'clock, go vote. Okay? This is the most important election in this country's history because public lands are on the ballot. Trust me, they are unequivocally on the ballot. I've worked with these folks. They say one thing. They say another thing when they're talking to different people. Okay? Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Senator Tester, Jason and Julie Fleury. For the press, you can have a few moments with Senator Tester after this event right over here. And everybody, thanks for coming out tonight, or this afternoon. It's awesome to see friends and supporters who have been with us for 10 years now. And Senator Tester, thank you for the Montana Headwaters Legacy Act.
Good job, Scott.
Can I grab one of those? Thanks.
Just state your address.
Yeah.